Hi there. So we're discussing Chapter 9. For Chapter 9, it asks us to differentiate between groups and teams. A team is defined as a group in which members feel responsible both for their own efforts and for the collective outcome. Groups can be informal or formal. Group stresses individual outcome, whereas teams really focus on the individual and collective outcomes. The individual is a key element in a group. Teams share responsibility. The communication style is very different between the two groups. I myself am part of the Enterprise System Service IT group, and I am a part of the Crimson Service Desk team. So the group is the organizational department, and the team is just a small section of that overarching group. That can be found on page 261, chapter 9. For the next question, we are going to, sorry for the camera whiplash. I am having some mouse difficulty. I am going to move this. So, discuss the impact of the various group roles discussed in Chapter 9. So, the first form of group roles proposed by Ben and Sheets' task roles, or roles that individual groups or team members embody to help a group accomplish its basic tasks. Ben and Sheets identified 12 different tasks and roles: initiator, contributor, information seeker, opinion seeker, information giver, opinion giver, elaborator, coordinator, orienter, evaluator, critic, energizer, procedural technician, and recorder. I really feel like if someone was asked which one of these roles I would be in the group, I would say I definitely fit as the energizer. I'm told frequently that I give off really good energy, that I am very good at keeping people motivated and keeping people on track, and that I am a fun person to work with. So for Chapter 10, I did question 2. Using an example from your personal and professional history, explain Javelin's stages of organization socialization. How does it work? And so Javelin's 3 basic stages of organizational socialization are anticipatory socialization. I swear I can speak English. Organizational entry, assimilation, and organization disengagement, exit. The anticipatory socialization is the period of time before an individual enters an organization. Organizational entry or assimilation is the period of time that occurs from the moment an individual enters an organization to the moment he or she becomes an established member of the organization. And then organizational disengagement, exit, is the period of time when an individual has decided to leave an organization to the moment he or she actually exits. So, for my example, I worked out at the casino. I was very excited to get on there. It was one of the few places that you could work full-time as a waitress, and that was really hard to find. I was very all about everything that the tribe was supporting. I was very proud of the fact that the tribe does a lot of donation and does a lot of work throughout the community. Still think that's very cool. I stayed with that company for 11 years and moved throughout the company. I actually got my last 2 positions just because I was so well established within the organization. People knew that I was someone that was very reliable and could be trained into other positions. I became disengaged from the company after I got my AA degree in IT, and I felt like my supervisor there was not my new supervisor that I had moved into a new position was not supportive of education, and for me that's really, really important and was really a big red flag. She started doing things to set me up but for bad situations. Almost I felt like I was being set up for failure, so I very quietly looked for another job, found another job, accepted my other position, and then put in my 2 weeks. Left on good terms. Everything was good. So yeah, that's that story. Let's see. The next question is, disengagement was not given as much attention as recruiting or socialization. Still apply the material to your own experience of leaving an organization. When people disengage from an organization, there are 2 basic types of disengagement: voluntary and involuntary. Voluntary disengagement occurs when an individual decides that he or she needs to look for alternatives elsewhere. Involuntary disengagement, on the other hand, occurs when an individual is forced to leave an organization. It seems to be, the book seemed very cut and dry. It didn't really leave like anything like leaving due to medical issues, or it didn't really, for example, it didn't mention anything about an exit interview, which is really common for companies to do nowadays. I had an exit interview with the casino, and they asked why I was leaving, what they could do to make things better in the future, what the situation was. So I gave them the information they were looking for. It really felt like that particular section was lacking, as there is way more to either quit or you get fired. Like, I definitely felt like there could be a lot more added to this, but I also recognize the dated of that particular. Moving on to the case study. So I chose to recognize for chapter 9. Dante is very much a recognition seeker. It very much seemed like everything that he did was done with the idea of he was going to be recognized for how awesome he was and what a good job he was doing. If you looked at his behavior and how he handled situations with his coworkers, it was very self-fulfilling. He really wasn't looking for the opinion of others. That's on page 279. The Moving on to chapter 10, Connie failed Dante by not giving sincere critical feedback to help him better learn the culture well enough, in my opinion. She gave him false understanding through impression management, which led to a falling out with the communications team. Connie really could have done better by making it clear to Dante that he needed to be working with the team, not just working in tandem with the communication team. That's on page 298. Relationship development seemed like Dante was doing really well, but he didn't realize when he had crossed the line. With the Christmas roast, he betrayed his team in a group party, which damaged his bond that he had only started making, and didn't own any of the responsibility for that situation, and tried to just shrug it off rather than repairing damages. That is on page 303, and that's all I have for you. Thanks so much for listening.